And he still felt superior to everyone else who was not white. And so he rode this bicycle and he parked it at our gate, sort of gate, like looked like a gate. And my neighbor, who was a general at Portsmouth, had come out on vacation from Portsmouth, just a brief visit. And he had all the numbers, 26, 27, 28, everything. And we also wanted to be like him. And he stole the bicycle. Okay, let me not say he stole it, he appropriated it without compensation. And then, I so happened to be standing where the bike was stolen. The guy came running, was like, no. And then he lifted me up, he says, fucking cover. Why is my bike? I'm like, shit. And I'm so confused. I'm like thinking, shit, what is the cover? I'm busy thinking cover more than any bicycle. Because I know who took the bicycle, but I'm no snitch. And that's the rule of township life.
Yeah.
So that's the first word for me, that I just wanted to talk about the fact that creativity can be real. And it's not abstract. It can impact people every day. So to the copywriters that are here, you actually have an amazing job, because there's a thing that says in the beginning there was the word. And this is the power of a word. And sometimes when we talk about this creative stuff, I see the copywriters sometimes are underrated. But actually you are so important. So please, do us justice. Can you write words, new words, that changes the narrative, that makes a black child also know that it is okay to be black and I don't need a skin lightener. So the second thing that I've learned is, which informs these 4 lessons, is I grew up in that shack. Now I'm romanticized poverty because I haven't been poor now for over a decade. So it's working well. I'm just nervous. That's why the first 10 years of apartheid, I was just trying not to be too excited, just in case it goes back. Now I'm thinking, 20 years, it looks like this thing is here to stay. Same with moving out of poverty. Now, the key thing I wanted to talk about with creativity is that a shack is a classical town planning. It's also creativity. Town planning is creativity. And it's the most liberating, a poisonous thing you can do to a human being. Now, I grew up in a shack, and I can tell you this. It is not nice to cry in a shack, especially when it's hot. Because the zinc competes with the tears. Now you are crying and you are sweating at the same time. Now the person you wanted to see you crying cannot figure out whether you are crying or you are sweating. And then when your mother gets into the house, you get another clap for being inside. Because everyone's supposed to be outside, because the room is too small for you to be hanging. I didn't have the privilege of go to your room. I would wish that I had. Because I can't even say to my kids, I forget they have a room. I'm always thinking, go outside. Because that's the best thing I can do, go outside. And now, this shack suffocates dreams. Why can't there be creativity even in poverty? Why does this thing have to be designed this way? Because this thing suffocates dreams. You can't dream big enough in a shack. And it's hard to grow up in a shack. Why can't we design it differently? Why does it always have to be this way? And so that's the key thing with creativity. Can you please use your minds and creative minds to solve this shit? And we get it done. Then there was this guy. This guy is the most creative guy. Should come here and give a master class on how to fuck people up's lives. Because this guy is dead. And this is the power of creativity. The guy is dead, but he just keeps screwing. He just keeps messing black people's heads. Inferiority complex amongst black people, at the core of it is this guy. And he creates something so powerful, a big idea. He had a big idea. And he implemented it so well that even when he's dead, we are still wrestling with it. That's what creativity can do. It can make it, and it can outlive us, and it can make us feel inferior, or it can make us feel good about ourselves. And this Bantu education, I teach, and it still exists. It hasn't gone away. What are the creative solutions that we can employ in education to bring about an education system that helps the child not feel inferior, purely because of their skin color? What are we doing? What I'm asking all people and sitting here, what are we doing other than this 30 seconds, 60 seconds? How can on the side we use the same gifts that we have to just solve everyday problems? Because for me, the best creativity is the one that is functional and useful. That's why I don't do abstract art. I struggle even with psychologists. They give you that shit stuff. They said, what do you see? And this thing has lines only. And now you're supposed to act like you see more than the lines. Like, it reminds me of I know I don't see jack shit. So I prefer functional art because we're in a continent that has many challenges. And we might as well, with those many challenges, use our creativity to make Africa better. On the side, every now and then you make that 30 seconds, 60 seconds just to get the market share, all of that, because not all of them are going to solve the world. Let's not lie. Not all 60 seconds and 30 seconds or long formats or short formats are going to solve the world. There are other things we can do with our creativity to also make the world better. And then, I see this. I'm 17. I'm in the US. I get the scholarship to go to the US. And I'm there and I'm missing black people. And I'm living in Tendley Town, and I'm so like, every time I walk on the street, I get stopped by the police. And then this time around, I get this, I ask people, where are black people? They say, go to a place called Anacostia. So I get there, when I land there, I not even land, I catch a train. So as I get out of the train, I see that, shit, this place is worse than where I grew up. And I'm thanking God like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad I was not born African-American male. You are in dipshit. It's actually better to be born African, black male, and not at the American as well. That's just another struggle altogether. So I go to this place, and I'm now nervous because I'm thinking I'm gonna get jacked or robbed and I'm thinking I can't blend in. I'm black, but I'm struggling to blend in. And I have a natural camouflage. And I'm just struggling. So now I go inside this church because with black people, there's one thing you know for sure, guaranteed, it will be there, the opium of the masses, religion. So I go in, sorry for the born again Christians and all of that. So I'm just not anti-Christ, I'm just anti-church. So I go inside the church, and as I look 17, I look up, they had a painting of the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples, and they were all black, and Jesus had cornrows. Peter had dreadlocks. This other one had a comb with afro. I was so confused. I screamed out loud, no, this is not right. But the amazing thing that happened to me, creativity helped decolonize my mind. One piece of painting on a wall helped me think differently. And all of a sudden I started thinking, why not? Why can't Jesus have dreadlocks? Why is this guy always using Pantene Head and Shoulders? Why can't he use anything else? And why is he always blue eye and just sharp nose all the time? And why is this guy always in some clean garment? Never something dirty. That's changed my mind. And that's for me, the people who are into visual arts, I now know what the power of visuals can do to a human being, if it's useful. And this piece of art in a wall in a church, as much as I'm anti-church, that church decolonized my mind. And now I am so free, overconfident. I frustrate white people. Especially Cape Town, white people. That country. And then the other part is just books for me. That creativity is so real for me. That these are the books I probably undoubtedly, the ones that if you ask me what shaped me, these are the books that shaped me. Of course, the other part that is not here is spoken poetry. I know what I'm about to say. You might think I'm just trying to do a PR. Like Mzamo Masito, I really do love him. Forget the part about who's Google. Nah, just that's for another day. But Mzamo Masito did help decolonize my mind long before I read a book. Because the first spoken poet I had who was highly creative but full of consciousness and black consciousness was Mzamo Masito. And he said, ukulimala kwengqondo, ukulimala kumuntu. And ukulimala kumphakathi, ukulimala kwesizwe. And now that was the first time I heard that. Long before I read Black Consciousness and Frantz Fanon and Steve Biko or Amy Cesar, all of those people. But Mzamo Masito was actually my first teacher. And that's spoken poetry being useful. And then these are some of the countries that I've been. Not all of them. You see now that's what happens when you move out of poverty too quickly. You must pace yourself. And I lived in India. And I love Bollywood. I really watch Bollywood a lot before Nollywood kicked in and replaced Bollywood. And I love the way Indians, I'm saying Indians, not the South African Indians, because the South African Indians are just South Africans who happened to be in India 150 years ago. And I saw this, and one first thing that landed when I landed in India is that the amount of poverty I saw, I was so grateful with my shack. So grateful that since then I've never complained about poverty, because now I know poverty is relative. And then in the US, and then recently I lived in London, and at the time when they've been doing all this Brexit discussion, the biggest lesson I've learned about creativity and human beings is that human beings are predictably irrational. Period. We are not rational, we are irrational. The Brexit decision is an irrational decision. Because how do you make a decision and then you go on Google search and ask, what is Brexit? You just made the decision. And now you're trying to inform yourself on what you've just done. The same thing, we are so predictably irrational. I know this because all of you at some point have dated someone. When you wake up and look at, you're like, what the fuck did I do with my life? Is this the best I can do with my life? But at the time when you made the decision, it sounded like an amazing decision. But now you look back and you're like, what? Which says we are predictably irrational. The joy of creativity is that we need to tap into what is irrational, not to what is rational. Because we are predictably irrational. Now, these are some of the places that I've worked in, or that I've done. So I teach a lot, so I love teaching a lot, far more than anything else. And then these are some of the companies that I have decided that I would join and work in and then learn. I nearly said something, but learn. And then the first lesson. Well, first lesson, you know there's 4. So if I suck, at least you can count. So the first one is, for me, creativity is art and science. I have listened to a lot of the Loeries speakers and seminars, and one of the things I hear a lot about creative people, they bash science. And some of them even say, I don't attend focus groups. I don't do market research. I hate market research. I hate data. I am not that person. I believe you can create creativity that is data driven. You can create from data. You can create from science. And I believe that it is art and science. I love sport. And sport is art and science. And then Serena just makes it look like it's flawless. That's all. Like, just Serena just makes it look like she wakes up like this and then just in and out, win a few 20 plus Grand Slams. But there's so much art and science, and I worked at Nike. So I saw the amount of work that gets put on in to win a Grand Slam. And there's so much science in it, but there's also so much art in it. And if there's students here, or there's people who just started working, if I were you, I would live in the intersection between art and science. I would worship both. I would not just worship art or science. Here are 4 things that kill science, or that make science look bad. The first one is the client. Client uses data like a drunkard uses a lamppost. Client uses research to make a decision, not to illuminate, not to understand. And client packs its own gut and intuition and makes research the decision maker. That gives research a bad name. So, and the reason that happens is because the majority of the clients that we have sometimes do not understand the people they serve. They don't go out there. They act like tourists. They go to Google, to Kailicha, Omlazi, to Zuma for 1 day, have a drink with 2 hours. They come out and they now know the people that they serve. And that's nonsense. You must immerse yourself in the people you serve. The desk is a dangerous place to view the world. So we need to. So that's the first thing that really makes science sucks. The second thing that makes science suck or feels like it sucks is the strategist in the agencies. Sorry, hey, I'm saying things. Why I say this is because I genuinely feel like the quality of strategy that I am seeing for the past 20 years is declining. And one of the reasons it's declining is because now the creative person now has to figure out the data themselves. I mean, you're creative, you're not supposed to be figuring out the data. The strategy is supposed to bring the data to life and help the creative person spark thoughts and ideas for the creative person. Now, the strategist is dumping data to the creative. And the strategist doesn't even turn data into insight anymore. And that's just laziness. And so I also blame the strategists, and I think they also need to check up. And they need to go back to school and study how do you convert data into insights. And how do you make data dance? How do you make it sing? How do you make it inspire a creative? How do you make the creative? Because there are some creatives who love science, but not all of them. Some of them just want to just smoke. That's the second reason. The third reason that we give science a bad name is that the truth is we discredit maths and stats. And a lot of people have fear for numbers. We fear numbers, and then because we fear numbers, we discredit something that we don't know or we're incompetent in. And we discourage the kids who are coming, whether it be Vega or AAA or UCT or TATS, all of these kids, which teach them that they don't need numbers. How can they not need numbers? They need numbers, they need to embrace them, and the degrees need to change. So now I blame the schools. The schools do not embrace art and science. The schools embrace like, no, just be creative. As if E equals MC squared is not a creative formula. It's so simple yet just so powerful. There's science and there's art in that equation. I'm a statistician by training. So I know that some algorithms and some equations are just artistic. Sorry. The one who's doing the timer, I cannot see the time. Mina, I'm black, so I'll just move. I'll then convert to Zulu. So can you just hook me up so that I know how much time? I don't want to entrench the stereotypes of politicians who says I won't be long. So that's the third reason, is that the schools are failing the new youth. and they're failing them dismally, and a lot of them can't count. I have been in places where the agency presents, and I ask the guy, what's the market share of this brand? Or have you read the last results that were announced on this brand, like quarterly, annually? Do you know its P&L balance sheet? Do you know these numbers? Like, what, do you know OKRs or KPIs? Oh, no, that's not my job. I'm a creative. Fuck it. You are creative, but you must also know the numbers. Just as much as I must know the numbers, but I must also love creativity. So can we also both dance on art and science? The second part is diversity and inclusion. The thing that I love a lot is this quote. When I joined Google, I went to a Nugla induction. And they induct you to become a Googler. And these terms are really real. Ask Anwar. And they said if we don't deliberately, intentionally, proactively include, we will unintentionally exclude. And this is the core. The key thing is the creatives who are here, the agency owners, the CEOs, the client, we are not deliberate, we are not intentional, we are not proactive. We are not going to transform South Africa if we are not deliberate, we are not intentional, and we are not proactive. I mean, something as simple as when I listened to voiceovers recently, and I found myself, if I was not deliberate, I wouldn't have asked, where is the female voice? What is wrong with this country that 60-70% of all creative, the voiceover is a man? Why is only a man? As if like men make most of the decisions when 85% of all purchasing decisions are female. Is it women are hypnotized by men? Voices. Is there scientific evidence that shows that if a man talks, then women quickly, democratically votes with their wallet? Why? What is this laziness? And so that's the thing that, for me now, I just think that we need to be more deliberate. For example, here's another thing is that this diversity is not going to work, or transformation. I walked and I looked at those gifted kids outside, which you said they're the future. The pool in which we select the talent of tomorrow is still white. It's too white. And that also needs to change. The pool, I'm not even saying change the top. If we're gonna try and do this from the bottom, that bottom I saw today is white. Sorry to the white kids, I'm not saying to you are not gifted, but shit needs to be said. And I'm saying it. And that also needs to change. If we're gonna transform, then let's change the pool. Let's be deliberate, intentional. I'm asking even Loeries and Andrew to say, Andrew, can you please be deliberate and intentional? Look at that demography outside. It's insulting to me. It needs to change. Can we please be deliberate and intentional? We can't have Hall of Famers here for the past 10 years and they're all white and then only Nunu Chingila. It doesn't work. The Loeries itself must walk the talk. You guys must talk, speak truth to power. They're not going to invite me again. This is it. I'm done. That's it. But we must speak truth. I looked at the Marketing Excellence and Innovation Award. I counted. There were 17 people who won or something. And there were only 3 women. No black person. None. Here's Litep. There's many black people that I know. There's Sydney Mbele. There's Alistair Mukwela. There's a lot of people that I know that are doing great work. Do you want to tell me that they don't also feature? Do you want to tell me only white people do great work in this country? That's shit. It doesn't make sense. So can we please change this shit? I don't want to look at the Loeries webpage and all I see is just a country that does not reflect me. Or a web page that does not reflect me. It must reflect me as well. I need to see me in it. Now, here's the thing. With speed. I love creativity when it does this to me. I watched this film, and dude, I was raised by Xhosas, and I went to the mountain. This film was just a mind, what's a good English? A mind fuck. That's good. It was a mind fuck, this film. It's serious orgasm, this film. The reason it is because this is useful creativity. The guys and the ladies who made this, I honor them because I know that it caused a lot of shit for them. Because the traditionalists were boycotting. They even went to parliament, the House of Traditional Leaders. I had toys. They wanted this to be revised and changed to 18 or SNLV something. All of the things must be put in it. And what I like about it is that it was challenging something that people are dying in the mountain. They are dying, so let's talk about it. And also it was challenging, what is a Xhosa man? Or a traditional man? Can you be gay and go into the mountain? Can you come out a traditional man? Or what are you then if you are gay and in a mountain, circumcised, and then come out? What do you come out as? This, for me, is great content. Because it makes me also think. It challenged me as well. Because I was not thinking about that, I was lazy. This also needs to change, how we portray women in advertising. The woman in the kitchen needs to stop. You can't tell me that's the only dimension we have of a woman, pregnant, holding a baby, in the kitchen. That's it. It's impossible, or angry. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you look at this thing, how can it be like 0.3% of show women as funny? I mean, as if men are more funnier than women. And they show women as only in aspirational roles, 4%. Millward Brown also helped me, thank you to Kanta Millward Brown. We looked at 2 weeks of the last recent ads, because I wanted to check if the recent ads are changing. So we looked at 35 plus ads. In those 35 plus ads, over 65% of the voiceovers were men. Over 90% of the ads stereotyped women. 90%. And this thing needs to change. We cannot continue this way. We must be deliberate, intentional, proactive. The problem with gender transformation is men. Me. I am the problem. The problem with race transformation is white people. The reason I say that, the one who holds privilege is the one who must change more. Men have the privilege, men must change. The people who have the economic wealth or whatever must change too in this country. So the one with privilege must change faster than the one without privilege. And this is the ad that shaped me and unstereotyped gender for me. For me, as someone whose father decided to bounce when I was less than a year old, like most 7 out of 10 black kids are raised by single mothers. This for me turned that upside down. And I was young when I watched this, and it kind of made me think that if ever I become a father, that's the kind of father I will be. And that was an advert. So you guys are doing amazing work that someone like me saw an advert and decided that's my role model. And I'm hoping my kids are going to hook me up with a car, but it will be a 1978 Master, yeah, convertible. Wow. I hope, and not that house. And here's another thing is that I watched this, and I'll play it a little bit, and you'll hear that there's power. Dude, if you talk about use of mother tongue in its most potent form, there are certain things in my mother tongue I dream about. I promise you, if your dreams and your prayers are in English, you are not dreaming big yet. You are doing light, low-fat cream stuff. If you want full cream prayers, is when you default to your mother tongue and you call God in your mother tongue and you summon him in your mother tongue. Then you know, then the guy must be listening. Now, there are certain things I cannot say in English. 98.5% of South African ads are in English. In a country where less than 5% of citizens, English is their first language at home. What is going on with us? Why are we so lazy? Why do we make only English ads? Especially TV. 98.5% of TV ads are in English. I mean, I even thought maybe it was a white people thing, Afrikaners, they are also stuffed. It's 0.03% Afrikaans only. It's not fair. I mean, Afrikaans sounds even more emotive. When you say donor, more, you get the point. Yeah. And you can't say that in English and get the point fast enough. So we need to change language as well. And we need to start embracing other languages. This whole film is in Sesotho, beautiful, with subtitles in English. Why?